Have you ever gotten to a place in your life where you felt like you were just surviving and not thriving?
We want we want you to thrive, and that's why we're reaching out to you today to just share our joint stories of what it's like to be activated.
And I remember what it was like to feel like I was surviving and not thriving. How about you?
Yeah, well, I didn't really have that as much as you did, but what I really wanted was I wanted you to thrive. And I knew, in a sense, I had better health than you. I knew I was thriving, but I knew that you weren't.
What made a difference? Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Well, I always thought I was fairly healthy. I was an athlete in high school, and then I was going to be a PE teacher, and so I was very active in college. I switched to physical therapy. We swam when we were there 3 days a week. I was running. So I wasn't as focused on nutrition as much, but we did grow and grow in that area. But I knew I always wanted to die very old but still young.
You kind of specialized in the exercise side, and I kind of brought more of the nutrition into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we made a great balance, made a great team on that. But there was still, I mean, with all that we were doing, you were still experiencing health. I still remember to this day a hike we were doing to Alakai Swamp. And I heard you wheezing, and it took me back to when we first met and we were running, and you were wheezing. You had asthma, and had been trained in respiratory therapy as well, and I was helping you out with that. And it just reminded me of that, and I just got this queasy feeling in my stomach, like, oh no,
Things are digressing.
things are digressing. Yeah, and I mean, at that age, I was still rocking and rolling. I felt super good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, well, why don't you tell them a little bit about your story first, because you actually found out about what we want to share first.
I did, and I thought you needed it.
You were good. You didn't need it.
I'm all good. And anyone, if you're like that, if you say I'm all good, Rusty, I don't need that. Think again, because I didn't know anyone that was healthier than me.
Well, then what I found out was, I mean, even though I started out a bit behind the eight ball, I realized that even with the progression of time, this thing called aging starts to catch up with us, where our body just doesn't function like it used to. And so when I was back running, when we first met in college, and you helped me with my breathing, and I did great for a while, continued with the exercise program, continued with good nutrition, and then gradually with time, things started to go downhill. And I think a lot of
Time
people...
plus pregnancies plus children.
So I think a lot of people, they're functioning now, and you may be functioning now, but time eventually catches up with us, and we don't really have that on our radar specifically, that time is going to catch up with us.
We really had no idea. We knew there was oxidation happening. We knew there was oxidative stress, but we really had no idea. In fact, I can be so bold as to say we thought we had it handled.
Oh yeah, we did.
When someone said, "Oh yeah, you need to deal with oxidation," I'm dealing with that, man. I'm eating raw. I mean, 80% raw food. I mean, I'm getting
mostly organic.
Yeah, I'm dealing with it. I'm even taking an antioxidant, so I'm all good.
Juicing.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Had clean water, had sunlight. Had.
We live in Kauai, where we have some of the freshest air in the world.
Yeah. So we thought we were doing good. Step forward to when I turned 50, and my heart decided to not function like it had. And I knew that was a genetic weak link, so it was kind of on my radar, but I didn't anticipate the misfunction at that age. I thought maybe when I was like 80 or 90, but to have it pop up at 50, 3 to 4 episodes a week, and I'm not one to take pharmaceuticals. That's just not me. So
Me either.
I decided to just try a few natural supplements, try to add a few things into my diet that maybe
Well, we
were missing.
we took the precursors for what's a precursor?
Building block.
We took the building blocks for glutathione. We knew that glutathione was super important. It's a molecule that your cells used to make more when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that if we could get more glutathione, that she would be better.
Yeah, it's a master trash man. So as we age, it's kind of like the trash pickup just doesn't come around as often. So the trash can kind of build up in your cells because if that glutathione is low, then you don't have the trash getting taken out. And so it kind of builds up, which has a negative effect on the body.
The way the person got my interest was finally, after months of saying, no, I'm not interested, they finally got someone that actually told me that we could epigenetically activate the 5 genes that actually make glutathione. My ears perked up, like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know how important that is. It's like if you were told there's a gold brick in your backyard.
Yeah.
And you kind of told where it was. You'd be having your shovel and digging, looking for it. That's the way I felt.
Yeah, definitely. So you initially picked this activator up for me. And about 3 weeks in, my heart issues actually went up. Now, as a dietitian, understanding functional medicine, I realized, okay, sometimes the body can have a cleansing response. So realizing that potentially my body might be getting rid of the junk, which is actually affecting how things function in my system. So you encouraged me, just wait it out a little bit.
Stick with the plan.
Stick with the plan. And so I did. And the 4th week, everything normalized. The function of my heart normalized. I have been activated for 11 years and no malfunction. So just eternally grateful, eternally grateful for the fact that my heart is functioning like it's supposed to.
Good, Deb. The way I felt was the first 3 days of being activated, I felt like I was on the end of a juice fast. I've done juice fasting before, and at the beginning it's rough, and as you get towards the end, you feel like euphoric. And I remember the 10th day of one of those fasts, I was hiking up the mountain behind our house here, and I was at the top, and I just wanted to jump off and fly. That's how high I was, euphoric. I had to actually step back. I thought, if I get too close, I might just jump off. I'd actually done that before with what do you call that?
Paraglider.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'd done that before, so I had to just back off. Anyway, I felt that in the first 3 days, like, wow, my body's just thriving here. Now, some people, you may not notice that if you tried it, but over time, you begin to notice certain things, and most people start to notice, better sleep. That's because their mitochondria are functioning better. They notice, more energy. Again, mitochondria. They start to notice just, little things that were starting to happen as they got older chronologically.
It makes a significant difference, not just in the glutathione, in the cleaning out the junk, but also in helping not just those 5 genes that are coded for the production of glutathione, but over 500-600 survival genes. Every gene in the body is significantly impacted.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, I was experiencing, at that time, I was 57 when I first started being activated. And I was experiencing morning stiffness after basketball. We swim 3 days a week. We were working out with weights twice a week. And I didn't really get sore from that as much. But that Tuesday night of basketball, I'd get really sore the next morning. We were playing on an asphalt court. I was 57. The next oldest to me was in their 30s, and I was 57. Bunch of young kids, basically. 20. I don't want to insult you if you're at that age group, but very much younger than me at the time. I'd wake up in the morning feeling very, very stiff. On the 15th day, I woke up feeling like I didn't feel any stiffness at all. I thought I was having like a out-of-body experience. I actually bent over 3 times in a row trying to find that stiffness that I usually woke up with on Wednesday morning, and I wasn't there. So I knew that my genes that are coded for making anti-inflammatory enzymes was being activated. The interesting story was the company actually made a skincare, and the reason why they made a skincare was because researchers from Louisiana State had done studies on skin cancer. And so they recommended that instead of just taking a tablet, they make a cream for the face. And so I had started using this skincare for a couple of weeks. I called my son on FaceTime, and he was stunned. And I didn't know why he was stunned, and he was speechless. And then finally he said, "Dad, what happened to your face?" That was in 2 weeks. And so when I would swim and get out of the ocean after a 30-minute swim out of the ocean, my skin would be like peeling off. This is almost like every time I would swim. My youngest daughter at the time would just, you know how kids are, "Dad, you look gross." That was what she would say. So after 2 weeks of using this activation in the lotion, doing the same thing I was taking inside my body, my skin was completely different. Well, I got stung by a Portuguese man of war. We call them pochos over here. Mm-hmm. And it's like a jellyfish with, stinging tentacles. And I got stung on the neck and the arm and the armpit, really tender areas. And I finished my swim because that's who I am. I don't stop exercising just because you get a little sting with a jellyfish. But by the time I got done, it was all welted up. It was just super, super painful. I put that skincare on, realizing nutrigenomically I was going to activate my anti-inflammatory genes, and within 5 minutes the pain was gone. The welts were gone. It was absolutely amazing. You had a similar story.
I saw it happen, but it wasn't until I experienced it that I realized the significance of it, because, well, like, we swim 3 times a week. I use a swimmer snorkel, which comes right up the front, and happened to be one of those days where the pochos were out and I got one wrapped around my snorkel.
On your lips.
Yes, it burned clear around my lips, and it was intense, to say the least. And as soon as we got home, grabbed the skincare, put it on. I mean, if you can imagine, you probably all had a bee sting, and you know how it goes through the phases where the initial pain of the sting, and then it welts up, creates the red, and then it subsides over about a week's time, and you go through the, pain for 3 or 4 days, and then goes to the itching phase. I mean, literally, that's what a pocho's like, but it was gone. I mean, we've had pocho stings before, and it goes through that phase, that weak phase, and this, I mean, it was gone.
I think it was after that, Deb, that we actually kept the skin lotion in the car. After that.
Yeah, when we go to the beach. Yes, definitely.
So that's not all that we've had. We've had exercise benefits. Mm-hmm. Tell them about your breathing.
So in one of the swims, when we first learned about activation, there was the NRF2 pathway activator, and we can tell you more about that later. But gradually, as the company realized how important all these different pathways were, they brought in more activators. So one of the next ones after the skincare was the NRF1 pathway activator, and it actually targets the mitochondria. Well, those of you who are familiar with biology understand that the mitochondria is the little powerhouse of the cell, and within each cell, there's multiple mitochondria, and
thousands.
Some cells, heart cells, lung cells, things like that, have more mitochondria. So, and when those start to have dysfunction, obviously, the factory that's producing the energy is kicking off more exhaust, which is more free radicals, more damage to the cell, and you don't have the energy. Hence the reason a lot of people age and lose energy. Well,
and then they can't sleep. Mm-hmm. Low mitochondrial function. Actually, you'd think more energy, less sleep. No, more energy, better sleep.
Right. So for me, having a genetic weak link, not just the heart, but also my lungs, always had felt like I was breathing, and it would hit a wall. Would never completely fill my lungs that it felt like. And on one of our swims, we were doing sprints. And in this one particular sprint, after I'd started with the NRF1 activation, I took a breath, and it just was bottomless. And it was such a foreign feeling that
No resistance.
no resistance. It really startled me. I came up and I told you about it, and it'll always be my genetic weak link. But my breathing is so much better now than it was when I was a kid.
I've never heard you wheeze. Again, and it's been 11 years.
Yeah. So I mean, again, so grateful to be able to help my cells be activated to the place where they're functioning like they're supposed to.
Objectively, for me, when I added the activation, I was doing a certain number of strokes per breath on my sprints. I would sprint for 30 seconds, rest for a minute, sprint for 30 seconds, rest for a minute. What I noticed was I actually doubled my strokes per breath in like 30 days. When I added the mitochondrial biogenesis activator, activating the NRF1 pathway, I almost doubled it again. And that was really amazing. I'd been at that same level for like 5 years. I'd kind of maxed out. Well, then I just, almost doubled that again, and just so much more efficient, and just feeling so much more energy.
Yes. Thinking of energy, the company then came out with a nootropic. I don't know if you're familiar with what a nootropic is, but it actually is a brain activator. So they realized that activating the NRF2 pathway in the body is significant, and they work to activate it in the brain. And this has been a game changer for so many people. Our daughter had a severe concussion as she was in high school, and realized that her brain just wasn't working like it was previous to the concussion. And using the nootropic just really helped her a lot. It's helped kids that have ADD, ADHD, even autism.
Have you ever had brain fog? I mean, you kind of know maybe what she experienced, a little bit of that. And it would just kind of clear that brain fog, like with a wind of, it's gone.
So one of the most significant things about the nootropic was one of our kids didn't have the energy that they wanted. So they were relying on energy drinks.
The bad ones.
I don't think any of them are good.
Okay.
But anyway, I knew that this particular not so good substance was actually activating the brain, but in a negative way. And I thought, okay, let's try the nootropic just to see what it does. So we have a nootropic that has caffeine, and we have a nootropic that doesn't have caffeine. So this particular son tried the nootropic with the caffeine, because we were thinking, okay, that's going to be what's energizing him, is going to be the caffeine, but it doesn't have all the junk that the other drinks had. Completely clean and healthy for you. And he was amazed at how it activated his thinking, and just realized that he didn't need the energy drink anymore, that he could use this because it was actually clean and healthy. Then he just wanted to try the non-caffeinated one, the decaf one, and realized that it was the brain activation that he was really looking for, because even the decaf one, it didn't have the caffeine to give him the boost, but it gave him that clarity of thinking, and that really made a huge difference. So we were just grateful that we could shift him away from the junk to something healthy.
One of my favorite additions, and it actually is great, but one of my favorite additions is the NAD synergizer that we've added, that's activating your genes that recycle the available NAD that you have already in your body, and to make it usable. And NAD is such a huge part of the whole energy cleansing,
protective processes
in your biology. And so when we added that, it just all of I mean, I noticed it in 24 hours. Like, wow, I thought I had a lot of energy. Now I have even more energy. How about you?
Well, I like the NAD in particular because it works like a turbo booster for the other two activators, the main ones, the NRF2 and the NRF1. So those have been scientifically proven to have significant amounts of activation. But when you put those three together, I mean, it really skyrockets it. So, I mean, it's benefiting the cells even more than each individual would.
And it's not just giving you NAD. It's not even enough in there. But what it's doing is it's a trigger, flipping a switch per se, that turns on the genes upregulation signal there. That those genes are now recycling that NAD that you already had, and so it happens really fast. It's within 24 hours. You notice like kicking the bands.
Yes, definitely. Anything else you want to say about those activators?
Well, with the three together, the thing that really got me, and it helps all three of them even better, but the main thing that really caught my attention as a physical therapist was the anti-inflammatory gene activation. It goes up from 54% with just the one activator to like over 800% activation. And so with so many different processes that we're dealing with today and aging specifically is inflammation.
Well, they talk about inflammation being the root of all disease, because anytime something is not functioning properly and you get the free radical damage, and it's like, again, keying the side of a car, and you have oxidative stress, the rusting right there. So the cell is rusting. Anytime you have damage, you have inflammation. And so the more damage there is in a particular group of cells, thinking of a particular organ, whether it's the lungs, the heart, the kidneys, the pancreas, that inflammation is going to have a significant effect on that particular organ. And then, the inflammation, like you were saying.
So if you're over 20, you're already experiencing age-related oxidative stress, mitochondrial, dysfunction. You're not making as much NAD. And so with the concept is we're now activating those three issues, and you will experience a shift over time. You'll experience a shift like we did, and we really want you to thrive like we are, and we'd be excited to be able to help you through this journey. Just let us know how we can be more of help.
And make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and I will look forward to chatting with you again.